Harry and Meghan, there's more of an effort there, but it's more of a desperate effort, whereas William and Catherine are just at ease in these positions.
Yeah, he's like the Timu prince. You know what I
The
mean?
Timu
Or
Prince, the
Sheen or
Timu
whatever.
Duchess. Hi, all. Welcome to Reading Royals with body language expert Scott Rouse. Scott is a trusted advisor to law enforcement, the military, and Fortune 500 CEOs. And you may also recognize his popular YouTube channels, Scott Rouse and the Behavior Panel. Meanwhile, I've been covering the royal family full time now for over 5 years.
Reading Royals brings history, headlines, and human behavior together in a way only Kinsey and I can do it. In this series, we take you beyond the palace press releases and those stage photo ops, so you'll know exactly what's going on and being communicated from a body language and behavior perspective.
That's right. Drawing on Scott's expertise and my royal knowledge, each episode revisits pivotal moments involving the royal family, from historic speeches and scandals to today's public appearances and interviews. Together, Scott and I decode the subtle signals that shape royal narratives both then and now. Scott, we were right on the cusp last week. We almost had we'd almost crammed everything in on, I think it was on Sunday. I almost sent you a text message of this video Meghan Markle posted behind the scenes on a red carpet in LA. It was at this 15% gala. I almost said, just send me a reaction. So we'd get everything in that we could right before that we started this show. But unfortunately, sneaky Meghan snuck in at the last minute and made an appearance. Let me pull up this video of Meghan, and I want to get your reaction to it, because she's showing up, I mean, almost exclusively on red carpets without Prince Harry. And I know that that's like not that big of a deal. But I'm also pretty sure that people will make it a big deal. Now, she shared this behind the scenes moment in LA on her Instagram. Like she's clearly proud of this. Duchess of Sheen. That's what one of the comments says. That's hilarious. So Meghan Markle attended the 2026 15% Pledge Gala in Los Angeles on February 7th to support the nonprofit mission of advancing equity for Black-owned businesses. She walked the teal carpet solo in a custom gown, mingled with guests, and highlighted honoree Tina Knowles, this is Beyonce's mom, Scott, on her Instagram story. Well, obviously, I need you to walk me through this moment by moment, frame by frame. What should viewers notice first?
The first thing that you'll notice is let's look at her hips, the way they're moving. She's overdoing it. Now,
Yeah.
And I guess from a biological perspective or the human perspective, men, when they see women, there's a couple things that happen. When men see a woman they think is attractive, their eyebrows go up like this,
Oh.
and they stay there. So if you're a woman and a man's talking to you and you're talking to a man and his eyebrows are up like this, he's attracted to you. 99.9% of the time, that's what's going on. Just a heads up there.
Yeah.
Now, also, one thing that attracts men is the movement of women's hips when they walk. I said this last time. I didn't mean for it to sound so rude. When I heard it back, it sounded horrible, but I meant it. She's, and I don't mean this to be horrible, but if we're gonna be honest here, and I always have to call him like I see him, she's a little mannish. She's a little bit mannish. So what's happening here is she's overdoing it now and trying to look more feminine. So when she walks, she makes her hips move differently, more like a woman's hips. Not that she's not a woman, not that she's not all that. I'm just saying she's usually not. She's trying to look feminine, and when you try to look feminine and you're not, it shows, and it gives you this weird feeling. So if you saw that and you said, why does it look so weird? Because she's walking out and she's going back and forth like that. She's trying to make that happen. So if you watch her hips, you'll never see her do that before this. I don't,
Well,
anytime I've ever seen her.
but you said to me before when we were talking about Paris Fashion Week, you
Mhm.
said she'd remember that bizarre exit out of the hotel where she's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so do you get the sense, and I wish I could remember your answer. You did say like it's intentional,
It's
but
rehearsed.
yeah, oh, okay, that's right. So
Yeah.
do you think she's rehearsing the hip walk in her
Oh,
Montecito hallways?
yes. That's one of those things somebody's told her about. She's like, I never thought about it. That's the way it looks, the way she's executing that. And if I was looking at this from a profiling perspective, if I was asking, hey, what do you think's going on here? I would say she doesn't walk like that. That's not normal. I know it's different shoes and all that. That doesn't make you walk like that. That's different for her. That's out of her baseline for behavior. So which means she's thinking about it. I totally get she's not doing anything wrong or evil or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
no. But
But
she's definitely trying to be glamorous. I mean, even in the dress, like there's a
yes,
pursuit of glam happening there.
yeah. And she's got this 15-foot thing, somebody has to carry it behind her and all that. Like, ooh, I don't know why that doesn't make her uncomfortable. That part I don't get. That's the part that really, but when I first saw her walking like that, I was like, yeah, because guys, when they see it, they go, really? But when you see him also dragging something like that around, I don't see how anybody has the nerve to have and then stand there while somebody else gathers it up. If you're in a wedding, that's one thing. If you're getting married, hey man, have
Yeah,
at
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Have a long, what do you call those things? The
Train.
train. If you have one of those, haul off, man. Do that. Yeah, because it's awesome. And it's your day and you're supposed to do that if
Yeah,
you're going
but
to do it.
someone else is being honored. Yeah, someone else is being honored. It's not about you. So the long train is really kind of inappropriate, isn't it? Because everybody is there to support Tina Knowles and all of these Black creators and businesses. Megan is not being honored in any way, shape, or form. She's supposed to be there to support someone else. And then she wears a train longer than her wedding train.
It was pretty long. That poor woman was over there gathering up and she's trying to smile at her and be nice and everything, which I think is probably honest, but it's so uncomfortable to see that. But the walking part where she's doing that, she's trying to look like she's more feminine than she is. That it's just from
It stands out for you.
yeah, yeah, doesn't
Yeah.
look right.
You know,
Doesn't look right.
I always am crucified when I talk about liking Meghan Markle. But when I did like Meghan Markle before I knew the truth, before I'd seen the light,
Mhm.
there was something so charming about her and Harry when they first stepped out as a couple when they were working as British royals. And again, this is before I heard whispers from Kensington Palace that she wasn't a very nice person or employer. And there was a youthful young girl energy about her when you'd see her like kind of bouncing around, shaking people's hands, meeting people at engagements. And it does feel like she's desperate to pivot to sophisticated woman. The youthful girl is gone, although I did see some of the a youthful girl or attempts to bring that back in with Love Megan, which we covered together as well.
Mhm.
But is she trying too hard to become this woman, because it seems so different from the person that we were initially introduced to.
I would think so because it's put on. She
Yeah.
doesn't walk. That's not natural for her. Now, when girls come around, guys all get all puffed up and what's going on, that kind of thing. So we all try to act tough and stuff. But when this looks so out of place and
She's trying
it
to
just
look
looks
like a
unnatural.
vixen. She's trying to look like a sexy vixen.
Yeah, it's didn't take. It's not working.
Can I
No.
ask you, does her posture suggest comfort in the spotlight? Because Harry, keep in mind, weeks ago was on a stand in the UK near tears, telling a judge that's going to determine whether the Daily Mail is guilty of violating his privacy between the years of like 2003 and 2011 or 2013, or well before he meets Meghan Markle. He
Mhm.
said to a judge that the press makes Meghan's life a misery. But when I see her alone on a carpet beaming, it's hard for me to digest that as the truth. So, do you get someone comfortable in the spotlight when you watch her on that teal carpet?
That she's into that. That's where the narcissist that she's in nirvana because she's the only one on that carpet thing right there. Usually you're standing there with somebody and you're trying to be, when you see those things, to be two, three people or your husband, your wife, whoever it is. And so you're standing there doing that with them or a real movie star or actor. You're standing there being with that person. But in this case, she's by herself, so it doesn't get any better than that for her at that spot, at that place, unless the person who was being honored was watching it. That's the only way it could get any better for her. If that other person was standing there watching, going, "Oh, this is you're so beautiful," that would make a difference. That would make it the very top. But other than that, it's perfect for her.
Yeah.
So she looks. Um, of course, she's going to try to make her posture all normal, which she has to do when she walks like that anyway. So that's part of it. And the person who is, I'm not going to say somebody's teaching her to do that. All women can do it,
Well,
but
also she refuses to take any sort of feedback whatsoever. So we
well,
maybe she's watching YouTube tutorials voluntarily, but I feel like when anyone gives her any advice, it goes in one ear and out the other. I think if she pursues that information, then yes. But if someone tries to give her that advice, it's automatically rejected because she, I don't know if that's a narcissistic quality, but I suspect it might be.
Yeah, it could be because you're doing everything right. And they
Yeah.
can't, and when they criticize you, you're criticizing the ego, which is all basic in a nutshell. That's all the narcissist is. Everything is, that's how you, it sounds horrible. But in an interrogation situation, and I'm going to tell you because that's what you're doing. You're manipulating that person to give you information you need about what happened. There, I've said it, I'm not hiding it. So there are ways to get that person to do that and to treat once you realize it's a narcissist and you check it out and you ask the questions and you find out that's what you're dealing with, even though somebody said, oh, they're a narcissist, they may not be. You
Hmm.
have to to decide for yourself. And once that happens, there are ways you can control that person and have them tell you things and do things and give you information you need because all you're dealing with at that point is an ego. And if you know how to just brush up against the ego at the right, you can't come on strong. You can't say, oh, you're so smart, but you have to say you're so smart in different ways. For example, it may be a situation where you're asking them questions and you know the answer to the question and you know how they did it because of a video or something else, but you need them to tell you. You'll say, how would something like this happen? I can't imagine something like that. And they would tell you, never thought about that. It's brilliant. Never thought about that. But wait a minute. What about so? And you keep trying to refute that. You keep trying to go against it. So they tell you how smart they are. Well, I got her. And they won't say, I got around it by doing this. They'll say, well, I knew no one would come that way, so I didn't go that way. Or I fixed the numbers this way because I know nobody checks. Seems like they would, and they say they do, but I know they don't. And they'll get into the details of whatever they've done, be it embezzle money or take somebody or do something to someone that's horrible. And they'll give you all the details if you know how to treat an ego or that ego. And once you find out what fuels that ego, is it something from the world of business? Is it something from the world of dealing with people? Is it something from the world of selling, not just business, but selling something, a salesman or a purchaser for a bit, whatever it is. Once you find out what triggers them and makes them want to, that makes them feel powerful when you compliment that part of their ego, man, it's you'll get them every time. So there's a way to deal with a person like that, and Harry has no clue
Mm-mm.
whatsoever.
No, he's being dealt with. He's not doing any of the dealing.
Mm.
What do her smiles tell you on the carpet? Do they mean anything to you, or do you look at that? I mean, you've got entertainment experience as well. Are you just like, that's a girl who knows her angles?
Yeah. Well, when we smile, we always know when it's a fake smile. People say, "Oh, because you've got these little wrinkles right here." Everybody gets wrinkles right there, whether they fake smile or not. But it's how the wrinkles show up. I can squint and make those wrinkles, but when it really happens, is the squint comes in like this instead of down like that. The
Yeah.
eyes because your brain's doing it. Now, when you're an actor or a musician or something like that, where people are taking pictures of you all the time, and people have to and let's say you're in a situation where you've got a VIP thing where people come backstage and they talk to you and they get your picture made with you. Well, you don't want to be going every time. It
That's the
takes a lot.
Britney Spears smile, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. But she finally got through that. She learned how to, she had talked to somebody that said, here's how you do your set smile. I know people who, every time you see them smile, you could just put those pictures together. It's the very same. Barack Obama did that. His
Mm,
smiles were the same every time,
yeah.
because he knew how to make his fake smile look real. Once you look at it, it takes a while to do it. You look in the mirror and see how that's done. And then you practice it a lot at the house, but keeping it on yet, that's the key. I know, going back to what you asked about, you can see it starts to fade a little bit. She goes, fake won't stick. So it kind of goes down a little bit, then it pops back up, then it goes down a little bit, and it pops back. You'll see her smile even more. Or she's supposed to look, now it really kicks in when she stops and turns and she goes, that's the time they're supposed to take the pictures. But up until that point, there's nothing there that's making her feel like this is wonderful. I'm so happy to be here, because you can be happy to be there. And enough time will go by and people say, you're not having fun. They go, no, man, I'm having a blast. I've never had this much fun in my life, because the initial, hey, smile is all gone.
Yeah.
So she has to keep that fake smile happening. So watch it fade and pop back on. It's subtle, but it's there.
Mm.
So that's not, obviously it's not a real smile until she turns, and that's when she full blasts her fake smile. And that doesn't last a long time either. So if you watch it, you'll see it fade and come back and fade and come back and fade and come back. in other words. Boy,
She's
that was a rant. Sorry.
No, no, I love it. I love every second of it. She does surrender to the photographers and follows direction. Does that
Mhm.
mean anything to you? Even with that information about Harry saying they made her life a misery, she is so high profile that she does not have to stop and turn or give them an over the shoulder. She could just keep walking.
Mhm.
So the surrendering to the photographers, do you care about that at all?
She's there to get as much press as she possibly can. She is because usually if you don't need it, if you're there and you're like Tom Cruise, hey, what's happening? He'll stop for 2 seconds and smile, and then go on. This is nowhere near Tom Cruise. She has to let them get whatever they want. She's going to give them because she knows that's going to help her look better on somebody's blog, on in a one of those online magazines or whatever comes up, a video, whatever they show pictures of her. She needs that to look as she needs them to have everything they can possibly have, and she cares about it. That's why she'll turn, Megan, and she'll turn and smile at them. Megan, everybody's yelling Megan, so they want you to turn. Now, sometimes as you probably know, sometimes what they'll do in Los Angeles or somewhere else, if they see a famous person, they'll holler. And I've heard some of the worst things hollered at these people if I
They
was with
used to
them.
say mean things to Diana, Princess Diana. She would like collapse in her car and start crying. And then they'd get the pictures of her
Oh,
crying in the car.
oh, okay. Well, it's common. They'll say
Yeah.
things about their mothers. They'll say things about their, kids, everything. They'll
Mhm.
say some of the things that I say, you're mannish, like that. I don't know if that's what they say. I feel hard. Now I'm thinking about saying that. I shouldn't have said that.
No, I understand what
But
you're saying.
yeah,
She does not always have a feminine energy. I mean, she doesn't always
doesn't.
have a feminine energy. And
Nope.
even especially standing next to Harry, like she feels like the dominant partner. And
Oh,
I don't
he's got
think.
enough feminine energy for all of us, I think.
Oh, just give us a second. Do you want to pivot to Harry and talk a
Yeah,
little bit about him?
yeah.
Last week, Prince Harry thanked approximately 50 bereaved families for their bravery in launching a landmark legal challenge against social media giants, including Meta and Google. Harry addressed the families in Los Angeles following the start of a California trial examining whether these platforms were designed as addiction machines and contributed to the deaths and mental health struggles of many users. We talk about this a lot. Like we talk about how important it is for kids. We personally talk about how important it is for kids to stay offline. Um, but like within days of him saying like this speech going viral, and we're going to watch it in 3 seconds, Meghan actually posts for the first time the clearest shot of one of her children online. So hard eye roll that they're not keeping their kids off the internet.
He didn't think this out. This is not structured. He was going with it. When he got there and realized he was going to have to talk, notice how he looks like Gavin Newsom. Everything he talks about, there's movement for. There's one part in that thing, because I saw a longer version, was if you feel that way, and he's rubbing his stomach, and you'll see him do this.
Gosh, that is so Gavin Newsom. That is
It,
so Gavin
he's
Newsom.
totally doing this. And then he talks, and these things, and his illustrators keep going. Illustrators are the way we emphasize specific words and phrases, like I did just then, specific words and phrases. And when those things don't lock up with your brain or with your words when you're saying those words, then something's wrong. So if I was to say, here's what I'm talking about, there's two or three things that I just think should be, that lets us know there's inner dialogue going on up there. He's thinking, he's trying to think of what he's going to say next. He's trying to structure what's going to happen. That's why he goes off to that count off of three things like that, because he thinks of that. And that's one of the things he says every time he talks about all this, but he wasn't prepared. This is what he looks like when he's not prepared. So it's so bad, he goes to the emotional part of it to show he's emotional about it. That's why we see him, his hands coming together and all that. He's in a way, he's in a limbic panic. Not like he's going to be harmed or anything like that, but his ego is going to be harmed. He's going to be embarrassed if he doesn't pull this off correctly, and he knows he's not prepared. That's what he looks like when he's not prepared. That's why it went to an emotional thing. So, oh, I get it. He's just, that's why we see all the incongruence with when he's talking, when his illustrators don't land where they should and keep going, because he's thinking up here. That's what's happening. He wasn't ready, and he's structuring, he's trying to remember what he's supposed to say in that situation. He wasn't ready. He's losing his pro status here. He's not doing well. No other royal that we've seen so far has ever done that before.
Mm,
Lost where they, not being able to put on the spot, not be able to go zing. They're always on. And
yeah.
when they are on, when you see them talking, you rarely see them talking out somewhere. But boy, when they do, they're on. He's not.
He's out of practice. But
Mhm.
I've asked you this before and I'll ask you this again. Sometimes I feel like that insecurity in him is him knowing he's punching above his weight. Is that is that the right saying? That like
Oh,
he's
yeah, he's insecure, so
unqualified.
he's trying to show he is qualified by
Yeah.
doing even more than he should be doing. Yeah, that's common for something like that. He's in everyone's eyes, he's qualified to do that. He's because he's Prince Harry or was, I don't know what he is now, whatever he
Yeah,
was a prince.
yeah,
So he
yeah.
should be able to execute that because he grew up being able to do that, and he was surrounded by people being able to do that. So that should be nothing for him, but he was lost in there. He wasn't ready. He hadn't been thinking about what he was going to say. He should have thought, shoot, I'm probably gonna have to say something. So let me get ready. I'll talk about that. But when you see people count off like that out of nowhere, all of a sudden he starts going justice and this and that. That is, he's not even hearing that. He's thinking, okay, what comes after that? I've got to get ready for what's coming after that because he's got to wrap it up. When you see these people communicating this way, it's this big, and you've got a beginning, a middle, and an end. He has a beginning. That's all he had. So in the middle, he's trying to put those numbers, and he tries to wrap it up with the emotional part there because he has no zinger for the end. He has no, so that's why we do so and so and so and so. He didn't have that. So he closes it down with that where he starts crying.
Wow. So I'm going to tell you that like when I watched that video, I felt like this is a man on a mission to change public perception about him.
Mhm.
So he's getting emotional because he likes when people go, Harry's the sweet one. Harry's the emotional one. Harry's the one that has feelings. He's just like his mom.
Mhm.
But you're saying that was a panic reaction
Mhm.
because he hadn't thought this all the way through and was not properly prepared, maybe potentially put on the spot to say something impactful. And he's like, okay,
Yeah, and if you
I,
watch that woman behind him, it's not landed on her at all. She
yeah.
couldn't care less what's going on there. Couldn't care
Mm,
less. If you're that woman that's sitting in that chair behind him, she didn't care what's happening.
yeah, because
You
she's
know,
likely lost her child. And there's Harry and Meghan who kind of swoop in and awkwardly campaign for something, a life that they don't necessarily live. Like, how can you campaign to protect children from the internet? And then within days, Megan's posting for the first time, like the clearest shot of her daughter we've ever seen. So, does it bother you at all that, I mean, I know it doesn't bother you because I know you, but I know that you're kind of fascinated by this stuff, that Harry continues to make privacy and online privacy. We'll get video of him, I imagine, at the end of March in DC, early April in DC, talking about privacy and the way we explore online. Like Harry moves to the United States, and I have so many people in Washington tell me that he's been given special treatment. Like usually if you admit to drug use, you're not given permission to live in the United States or to go back and forth
mm,
from here and wherever he's going. But for some reason, the government is like, looks away from his book where he talks about talking to a toilet after doing mushrooms at Courtney Cox's house. He talks about how our First Amendment is bonkers on podcasts. But then he comes over here and is trying to have any sort of influence on our laws or on the way
uh,
we navigate social media. He put together with the Aspen Institute some suggested guidelines. You know, to me, it's like this is not your place. That's the nicest way I can put it. But you really shouldn't have any effect on our laws whatsoever. You are a royal, you're unqualified to have these conversations. We fought a war so that you and your family would not have any influence on our country and our laws whatsoever.
who cares what he thinks about it? Why would anybody care what he thinks? I can't believe it. I don't know about any of this stuff. I can't believe you're telling me that he would actually think somebody would care what he thought about a law about
Yeah,
these things.
yeah.
Wow. What's this thing about talking to a commode? What do you do?
He writes in talking to a commode. He writes in spare that he got so high at Courtney Cox's house from friends that he was like talking to a trash can or a toilet at her house.
You shouldn't be telling that.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh, that's one of like, oh my, I mean, I think about this all the time. Like, this is the same guy who told us he got frostbite on his willy and had to put Elizabeth Arden cream on his willy. And he has a frozen Todger at his brother's wedding to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. we're supposed to listen to this guy give us any sort of advice whatsoever. That's not, you don't put that kind of stuff out there if you want to be respected or an authority on anything. Like, color me cynical, but like, I just, whenever he gets in this preachy mode where he's trying to teach us how to live our lives,
Mhm.
I'm like, you're kind of the biggest loser in the British royal family. Okay, Prince Andrew's, ex Prince Andrew's the biggest loser in the British royal
Mhm.
family, but you come in a strong second.
Frostbite's pretty serious business. That's, I mean, you get that usually on your fingers. I don't know what he's doing to, why
Yeah.
would he, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, you always hear
Why
about
was
on
that exposed?
his
Okay.
fingers and toes is where it happens most of the. Granted, you can get on your, on your face or on your eyes and stuff like that, but that means the part of your skin is going to rot off. You know what I mean? For real.
Enjoy,
I mean,
Megan.
that's the way that works. I can't believe he would say that, number two. And number one, I'm not so sure I believe that because
Ah, that's
there's a lot
interesting.
that comes with that. There's a lot that comes with anything being frostbitten. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Unless it got so cold, he's trying to say it was frostbitten and it wasn't really. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just
Yeah.
exaggerating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if he's being serious and said that too,
Yes, he did in his
oof,
book. I learned what a frozen toddler was thanks to Harry's spare, is
oh,
literally what
that's
we're
too
talking about.
bad.
But some people, especially charities and like this event in Washington, this like conference in Washington, they look at him as a super easy, slightly expensive PR opportunity. And that's why he continues to get those calls and continues to be platformed. And that's frustrating because there are people that are highly qualified that are told no so that Prince Harry can have that spot.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, man. They're trying real hard.
They're trying so hard. Well, let's talk about some winners in the British royal family. Some of the members that continue to show up and, well, to steal from Harry and Meghan, show up, do good, which is the Archwell motto, which means absolutely nothing. The royal family continues to keep calm and carry on despite the never-ending Epstein revelations. And the Princess of Wales made a visit to Castle Hill Academy. This was on February the 12th to kick off Children's Mental Health Week. And the vibe was very hands on. Catherine literally rolled up her sleeves to join a group of 9 to 11-year-olds in their art studio. We see her a lot outside as well. This cool project is from the charity Place to Be that helps kids identify the people and places that make them feel the safest and connected. And she was spotted laughing with the students, admiring their work, and even telling one boy that kindness is king, which obviously we believe coming from her because she feels like such a sweet girl.
If we were making a comparison, which we are, that's why we're doing this,
Yeah.
between Megan and her, it's so different there. It's so because Megan's thing, she comes out. It's one thing if you're not, if you are royal, then you come out. Look how sweet she's being to those little children. She's actually looking right at them, talking to them, and she's listening to them. That's the key. And when she's talking to them, her head goes forward a little bit. She's dead eyeing them, and everybody. You'll hear people who are really charismatic when you're talking to someone that's really charismatic. The person will say, I was talking to him or I was talking to her, and it felt like I was the only person in the world they were talking. I was the only thing going on in their world was me. But with Megan, if you'll watch her, as she's talking, she'll be looking around, she's talking to you or to the person, oh yes, and that's whatever. And you'll see a lot of this going on. She's
Mm-hmm.
preening and prepping and doing things like that. I don't think you see her do one thing that's preening or prepping in this situation at all. And the confidence there is that confidence that where you got it, whereas Megan's trying to show she has it. There's no show here. I think she's just being the natural confidence that comes with a position like that you're supposed to have or supposed to show. And Megan doesn't have that. Megan's is more for show. It's more pressed and pushed. And if you'll do a comparison of the two, doing something similar, you'll see it. It stands out. It's unbelievable when it stands out. You can talk about it all day long, but when you see it together, you go, "Oh, okay, I see." You can
Well,
point out a couple of things.
I know that people are going to be mad at me about using this word. It's authenticity, Scott. Like, that
Yeah.
is truly who Catherine is. That is, and like you talked about how she's like prepared, Harry, Prince William waited almost a decade before he asks her to marry him. They've
Oh,
been married for a significant amount of time. She had the patience to learn the ropes, to learn what was acceptable, to learn what the job was. And I think that that is what we see in every execution. She knows knows exactly what she's there to do. I think she enjoys the job. I think she feels blessed and lucky to be there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a woman that knows she's going to be queen one day. And every movement, every
Mhm.
gesture, every exchange she has with people is in preparation for this moment. Those little kids are 20 years from now are going to be telling people around a
Mhm.
pub during the coronation, fingers crossed it's a long time from now, but they're going to be like, I met her when I was in school and she was the sweetest woman I'd ever met in my life.
Mhm.
She's enchanting.
Yeah, and I'll bet you $1,000 she knows the history of everything with that, with who was the king and queen before her, before now, before they. She'll know the history, and I'll bet you $10,000 Megan doesn't know squat about that. She's not the kind to be studying. She didn't know how to curtsy and was given all that thing. Remember from that
Yeah.
interview?
Yeah.
She doesn't know the history of the monarchy, and she doesn't know the history of England. I'll bet you she doesn't know any of that stuff. I bet she doesn't even understand or know about the Falkland War that happened and why and those reasons, or why she's got the basic reasons why America left Britain, or why America left Britain, why people left to make their own country. But I bet she doesn't know the history of any of that stuff. But I'll bet you Catherine does. I bet she knows it inside and out of
Fun,
respect for the. Look at me getting all worked up over here. Out of respect for where she is and for what that means, and for British people and for herself and for the history of her country,
fun fact,
which is
Harry actually
important.
gets his grandfather, like his great great grandfather, wrong in Spare. He doesn't realize that he's like not like that's not a bloodline that relates to him. So yes,
Uh,
I would say Megan has no clue because Harry has no clue. Or his ghostwriter didn't, and Harry didn't say, actually, I'm not related to that person. So I totally believe you. And she complained in the Oprah interview about having to learn the national anthem,
hmm
like having to
Oh,
Google it herself. Girl, if you
yeah.
want something, you work hard, you work extra hard, you work double, you figure it out. You don't sit down and complain to Oprah Winfrey. I wanted to ask you because last week I spoke to Hugo Vickers, who's a very well respected royal expert and commentator, and he suggested that Catherine was less likely to be heckled in public because she's so well respected. Did you sense any fear? Because we will watch Prince William here in a second, who was heckled in Saudi Arabia by some journalists. I believe they were journalists.
Yeah.
um, do you get any sense of fear there, or is she not worried about somebody yelling something at her that might make her uncomfortable?
I don't think she's afraid of it. She's ready to handle that. They all are. They know what to do in those situations. They're prepared for it. It's not
Yeah,
going to hurt their feelings. It's not going to throw them off their game or anything. They're ready for that. That
yeah.
comes with it. Like I hate to keep bringing up Tom Cruise, but you think Tom Cruise isn't ready for someone to go, "Hey, man, you're a hack," or "You're a horrible," and whatever it was.
Scientology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it is, he's not. That's not going to bother him.
She shines. Catherine shines when she's around children. Does her body language tell you that she's really happy to be there, that that's where she
Yeah.
thrives?
That's her job, and she knows it, and she's leaning into it. That's what it
Yeah.
looks like. It's not, oh God, I got to go to talk to kids. Personally, I was seeing something like this. That little kid come in and showing her stuff and talking to her. That kind of thing. Who could not like that? Who
Hmm.
could? Who could? You can tell she's up in it. You can tell she's totally into it. She's in the moment there. That's what Megan can't do, is be in the moment anywhere, because she's
Right.
too concerned about herself, her
What
ego.
and what she looks like and how it will be interpreted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's pivot to Prince William here. William had a high stakes 3-day tour of Saudi Arabia that wrapped up on February 11th. And this just wasn't a standard royal visit. It was a masterclass in soft power diplomacy aimed at deepening economic and cultural ties as the two nations head towards a century of diplomatic relations. The highlight that everyone is buzzing about is William channeling his inner Gen Zer by picking up a controller to go head to head with some of the world's top gamers. And apparently, Prince George loves gaming, which is why this looked so charming, because you can see that this is probably something that every once in a while he might participate in at home. First of all, did you notice the thumbs when he's sitting there having a conversation with, someone that's probably similar in title, I should say.
Okay.
Um, he's
Yeah.
sitting
Well,
there fiddling
a
his
lot of
thumbs.
times what will happen is when you talking specifically about thumbs. So when you see somebody doing this, we call it steepling. When you see them doing this, that's another thing because it's adapting. You're trying to get rid of that built up stress and tension from the stress of the situation. A lot of times people rub on their face or push on it. That's called facial denting, or they'll pull on their ear or something like that, or they'll start doing this with their hand. And you just do that to get rid of that built up stress, right? You do it to help to soothe yourself. Self-soothing is what we call that. And so when he's doing this, you'll see his hands up. We're seeing the confidence, his thumbs are up, but then he starts pushing them together as they go down. He's pushing them together because there's pressure there. And when he relieves it, that relieves some of the pressure there. And so that relieves stress. It's almost like massaging yourself.
Hmm.
So it's like a little tiny little massage that he's doing there. We're seeing him adapt as he's doing that, which is normal because he's probably bored out of his skull. That might not be the most interesting fella in the world. He's away from his wife. The time zones are going to be different.
Yeah.
He's probably, might not be much there, but when he gets to that game, man, things turn around. He's on. He's over there goofing around. He's getting his headphones ready. He says, we're playing as a team, right? He knows about that stuff, and he's probably into it and probably does it at the house and has fun doing it.
Yeah.
He's right at that age where he's supposed to not be doing that, but people that age
But he's
still
got
do
kids.
that.
He could justify it.
There you go. So he's got that stuff at the house.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
He's like, oh no, I just know this because of my son. And you're like, is that really why? Or is your son the perfect excuse to play video games? I did have someone else say last week to me that is a respected commentator that, well, he suggested Prince William is a reluctant prince, a reluctant leader, or a
Mhm.
potential king. I feel like he looks really at ease in his role.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you pick up either side of that? Do you think that he's reluctant, or do you think, no, this is a man who's ready to be king, or well, that's preparing to be king and comfortable knowing that?
Oh yeah. He's ready because watch how he moves. His moves are very fluid. They're very slow. If you'll watch a group of people, the leader is the one that moves the least of the
What's the
time.
difference between Harry's Newsom movements and William's movements? Is it the word fluid? Is it that William is smooth and Harry is just like looks like he's unraveling?
Or William doesn't feel the need to emphasize what he's saying.
Mm.
We're looking at two different situations. He was talking to a group and all that, wondering he's in a panic mode, but still at the same time, if he had his head, if he knew how to approach that, his words should be powerful enough. You can have small ones. You have little things like that when something's really important. And if you'll watch William, he has a couple too where he says things because we can't help it most of the time when we do that. It's just something that happens. Now, when we illustrate. But his power comes from the words he uses and the tone of voice. And notice he's not that loud either as he's talking. He talks at the same level the whole time. His cadence, the speed he talks, that doesn't change at all in there, except when he sits down at that thing. It's a little faster. Things have changed. It's a different situation, but he's a little excited, so it goes faster.
Yeah.
I get in trouble for talking fast all the time because when I talk about behavior, I
You get
just comes up
excited.
fast. I do. And so when someone gets excited, they talk faster and their words are on together but Harry's not good at that. He's not good at controlling his emotions. When you're in
Mm.
a situation and something goes sideways, people you turn into the person who's in control and the person who's supposed to handle that or handle that situation. He's in a position, his dad's not there, nobody else is there that's around that he's watched growing up, be the guys in charge. He's the man now. He's the guy in charge. So he's the one's trying to forge that relationship with that other guy for whatever the reasons may be, so he can get out and meet with other countries, so everybody gets to know him and they have a certain feeling about him. If he becomes king one day, he'll have those relationships. I've known that guy for 30 years. I'll
Yeah, yeah,
call him.
yeah.
We'll get that worked out, whatever the problem is,
Right.
or if they need him to do something. So that's what that's about. And it looks like he's doing it well. He looks like
Yeah.
the guy in charge. That's important.
I think so too. I think he's accepted the fact that he's in this role and that he's enthusiastic about it. He just he makes it look so effortless. And in both cases that we've watched, both couples, I think that we've established that Harry and Meghan, there's more of an effort there, but it's more of a desperate effort, whereas William and Catherine are just at ease in these positions.
Yeah, he's like the Timu prince. You know what I
The
mean?
Timu
Or
Prince, the
Sheen or
Timu
whatever.
Duchess.
Yeah. So they're when you look at granted, it's his younger brother, so of course he's going to be a little bit goofier, And I'm sure he's always been seen as the goofier and his things spare. If anything happens to him, then I'll be the king. What are the chances of me being king? So I'm
I
sure
know.
it's always like that with an older brother and a younger brother. How many years apart are they? Like 3 years, 4 years?
I think two.
2 years. Okay. Well, that works.
Yeah.
So he's the dominant one, and Harry's is not, and it
Yeah.
shows. He's always been looked at as the younger brother, as the one who's not the pro.
And not the brightest bulb on the Christmas
Yeah.
tree either. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And head over and subscribe to Scott Rouse as well, who covers all sorts of things. I mean, a lot of heavier stuff that I'm obsessed with. So I get my true crime fix over on Scott's page. He lets me know what I should be looking for when I have automatically assumed someone's guilty. Scott puts me in my place and says, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. So subscribe to Scott over there. And we're excited to see you again next Monday. Who knows what Meghan Markle will bring us or what the royal family will bring us, but they've been pretty busy lately, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, bless their hearts. They're trying hard. They're trying hard, but it's coming to that point where it's starting to fade and nobody's going to care soon. So
Ah,
they're
the
trying to fire that back
Sussexes.
up.
Yeah, the Sussexes. All right. Well, we'll see you again next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.